She was wearing a dark green dress with a large hood that made her look like an elven princess of the woods. Her curly, black, long hair, with a couple of streaks of blue and green, overflowed, casting out of the front of her hood. She stood at the water's edge as it continuously washed up upon her feet. She lived in the caves of the Narsithoi land, one part of several lands. Together, they compose the Land of Idothea. Sometimes, she would guide excavation sailing trips as their captain with the local pirates. Her name was Amethysia. She was tall in her early 30s. The moon's light was shining on the water, reflecting a mysterious light blue as the plankton glowed with every movement of her feet in the water. There were a few clouds making their way towards the moon, until they lightly covered it, dimming its light and casting shadows upon the water. Amethysia noticed some fins in the distance of some mermaids gently swimming, making their way out of the water and back in again. Around Amethysya's neck was a necklace with the symbol of the moon. She placed her right hand around it, looking straight at the moon. She then bent down, her dress now partially getting wet. She did not care. She took her necklace off and with her fist closed, placed it in the water. With a bit of hesitation, she released her fist, allowing the necklace to be taken away. She was letting go. Those days had ended. She stepped completely out of the water, going back to her trusted friend Alinos, a black Icelandic horse. She unfastened the rope from the branches of the Yanthi tree. The Yanthi tree was a medium-sized tree, orange in color, bark to leaves. This tree was normally found in the area of Hephaestus, but somehow this one lived in the land of Narsithoi. She began walking with Alinos together in unison towards the caves of Nithderid, without holding his rope. Around his forehead, he had a beautiful green necklace with a triangular-shaped symbol in the middle. He was also adorned in other parts of his body. Around his front right leg and back left leg, he had necklaces as well. A beautiful turquoise material covered his back, embroidered with all kinds of symbols. On the embroidery was the platypus, an animal that represents solitude, and one that does not really fit in with the rest. Amethysia also had a large platypus embroidered on the back of her dress. She had a tattoo of an anchor, a mermaid's fin, the hat she wore at sea, and a sea creature that lived in the waters of this land. These tattoo markings were indigenous to her region. It was a process that grew with time on the skin with an organic element. They were created by a blue and green algae found in the waters. They grew on rocks that lay deep under the waterfalls. At the time of the tattooing, it was freshly extracted from the water and put upon the skin with a special tool that is heated up by the light of the sun, adhering the algae, or pressing it onto the skin into the desired pattern. The live algae then becomes one with the body, still alive and growing, creating a bright blue and green, iridescent luminous design over time that shimmers and grows under the skin. Amethystia's algae anchor, mermaid fin, and the hat she wore at sea was on the right side of her stomach, and her intricate sea creature covered her back. As they arrived at the massive cascading waterfall, they followed the path that took them behind the waterfall. They entered into the cave's corridor, echoing their steps through a large, tall arch towering above them, with designs carved into its walls. They made their way through the long cave hall. The darkness of the cave was lighted by a few frutinha torches, a special material from nature that resembled fireflies. A living space was still a distance away, tucked away from all of the other caves. She decided to stop at the village, so she made her way there. It was the cave village of Radini. It was quite large, the average size, like any village would be, lit up fairly well. Small shops of various kinds covered a large part of it. Amethystia's favorite shop was the Giakalli, a store where they had various vegetables and fruits grown only in the caves. Actually, this is why she stopped at the village. She wanted to take a batch of nerosico to take home with her. Nerosico were round, black, and wrinkled, a sweet-tasting fruit resembling the taste of a fig. "Hello, Amethystia and Arinos," said Kirsten, the salesman. "The usual?" he asked with a smile. "Yes," responded Amethystia, with an even bigger smile. He grabbed a batch of them as he gave one to Arinos and put the rest in a net bag made out of a local plant and handed it to them. She said, "There were all kinds of wonderful things in the shops, various hanging lamps made of the laguna trees, and all sorts of things. The bat was the animal that was the symbol for everyone that lived in the caves of Narrated. Almost every home had a bat somewhere, either carved on the outside of their home, or as a little statue, or a picture, or something else." Amethystia made her way out of the village with Arinos by her side, continuing her journey through the cave's crevices to her home. Along the way, there were people's homes scattered here and there. The caves of Narrated were actually a quite large, extended region with a few different areas. Bats lived freely there. They had a special local species that were blue with green eyes. The people often fed them fruits and nuts, which was a treat for them. Most creatures on this waterside in the land of Idothea were blue and green, like the mermaids and different plants and animals. Not all, but most. You see, there were 4 parts of the land: Idothea, Iphistos, Airenia, and Dris. In Iphistos, the creatures were orange. Then there was Airenia, where they were black and white. And in Dris, most creatures were brown. It was as if each part of the land held its own DNA,